Okay, Mrs. Johnson, are we ready to go?
They're ready to go. Okay, let's first stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the United States of America,
and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Miss Green,
Yes.
Miss Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Isles,
yes,
Mrs. White.
Yes.
Okay, call to order time, 10:06. First on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes from the rescheduled Board of Education meeting held on April the 22nd, 2020. Do we have a motion?
Move. I'll second.
second. Okay, go ahead.
Who's the second?
Paula,
And also board members, when we do that, go ahead and if you motion or make the second, go ahead and say your name that you're making that motion or second.
Okay.
Yes, because
That's
if
a
you're
good
not
idea.
here, it's a little difficult to know who made the motion.
That's
And
a
the
good
meeting
idea.
date was April 23rd, 2020. Miss Green,
Yes.
Miss Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Isles,
yes,
and Mrs. White.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the financial report. A, approval of listing of bills, and B is approval of 5-year forecast for May 2020 submission. Do we have a motion?
Catherine
move.
Green. Oh, I'll second.
Lori Isles,
Lori Isles moved, Catherine Green second.
Mhm.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Miss Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Miss Green,
Yes.
and Mrs. Isles.
yes,
Okay, C, approval to transfer $1,704.90 from the general fund to the middle school yearbook fund. Attachment F1. This has been discussed before, so I think
Move.
everyone. Do we have a
Catherine Green
motion?
moved.
Move Catherine Green.
Paula, second.
Miss Green,
Yes.
Miss Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Isles,
yes,
and Mrs. White.
Yes.
Mr. Collier, can you scroll down?
D, approval to transfer 40,000 from the pay to participate fund 0019323 to the general fund 0010000. Do we have a motion?
Move Catherine.
Paula,
Second.
second.
Miss Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Isles,
yes,
Mrs. White,
Yes.
and Miss Green.
Yes.
Okay, number 3 on the agenda is the treasurer's report.
Okay, there's nothing really to vote on. I did get confirmation, and you should have gotten something in your emails from the state auditor's office in regards to our FY19 audit is complete. The 5-year forecast, we finished with Public Finance Resource, who merged with Forecast 5. So that was kind of the delay in your getting your 5-year forecast, because we were having some technical difficulties with what I was showing in my system, what they were showing on the software side. So I apologize for that delay in you getting that, but hopefully those numbers can look better when we go into November. As you know, that we have, our school has been with the state funding reductions, you should have gotten something there too. Fayetteville had $129,437.50 reduced from our foundation payments, which we get those foundation payments twice a month, and that's our state funding. So that's going to happen on my May 29th foundation payment and my June 15th and June 30th, where they're going to take these reductions. So those revenues will be cut. And then I don't know going forward what we're looking at for FY20, but we are keeping our eye on it. Mr. Collier and I are having discussions pretty frequently and, talking about kind of the needs of the business. So,
In line with that, Mrs. Tussey, I would like to congratulate you on a very good audit outcome. Everything was very excellent, apparently.
thank you.
Good job, Lisa.
Yeah,
Yes,
good
very
job,
good
Lisa.
job.
Yes.
Good job.
They did say that if people get into the state auditor's office, that they will be awarding us with the state auditor's award. So that,
Oh,
but I didn't want to say anything until I had it in my hand. So, but I'll tell you that. So,
good.
Good
yeah,
job. Good job.
please.
Yes.
And
Lengthy
Lisa,
process.
also thank you, Lisa, for all that you send us, all those reports and keeping us abreast of what's going on. I appreciate that. I'm sure we all do.
And when we open up again, it'll be a lot easier when we're seeing each other face to face and looking at what we have, the resources I'm giving you as we go through the redesign, state software changes for us. I'm going to give you what I have. So that way we're on the same page and we can, we know what we're looking at as far as the numbers, and I'll give you what I have. I think I gave you the redesign FinSum and a redesign, can't remember what you guys got, but
And I like the redesign, by the way. I do. How do you feel about it?
oh, it's a challenge right now, just finishing up the audit and all these things that we're going through right now, but I'm excited. I like change. I like improvement and change. And I think it's going to be more simplified. It's more, just the programming is different, where right now it looks like DOS, and
Yes.
it's not going to be with redesign. Redesign is more, it's 21st century. It's something we needed for a long, long time. I mean, we're
Yes.
replacing a 30+ year system with our state software.
Correct.
So-
Correct. And it looks good. I like it.
But I'm ready to get settled in. I want this to be my last change. I've had enough changes.
Yeah. Good luck with that, Lisa.
I know. We just got to roll with it, right? So, but that's about it. And I don't have anything that needs to be voted on. So,
Okay.
No motion or anything, so.
nope.
Okay, then next on the agenda is the superintendent's legislative report.
Okay, well, I got several things I just want to brief you on what's kind of been going on since our last board meeting. I know graduation is a large topic on our minds here in the district, our administration, especially at the high school level. I know that with us, it's been a challenge to keep up with the guidelines that we have to follow. It's not really a choice, but on our end, I wouldn't say that we're stretching it out, but we're trying to make sure that these seniors, they've had so much taken away from them the past couple of months, where we want to make sure that this is memorable, special, but also for those parents and families that are involved. So as I know, I spoke briefly in regards to the graduation ceremony. They call it a drive-through. I know the guidelines from the Governor DeWine stated it's a drive-through. I really don't like the word drive-through in my opinion, but it's more like I guess you can say a drive-in. We're really going to be doing everything that we typically would do in a traditional graduation, except we're doing it outside. Instead of the students being in seats in front of the stage, they're going to be in vehicles outside on our football soccer complex. I know Mr. Wallace and Mrs. Greco, our administration, have been working hard to make sure that we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's, making sure that people that plan on being there, that we accommodate, modify. So everybody has a positive experience, and this is going to be new for everybody, especially for the Fayetteville-Perry district. So how the process is going to work for us is that well, everything's going to bear on the weather at this point. The weather is going to really determine if we're going to stay on task, but also what was sent out several weeks ago when we found out that we weren't physically closed for the remainder of the school year. We sent a letter out by one message, but also we ended up posting on a live feed an attachment where it talks about each building, the elementary, the high school, and specifically talked about high school graduation. And we did have some contingency dates that are in place. So I'll just kind of go over that with you. And something like this, just like in the past, we would have a graduation practice. And people were thinking like, why are you going to have a graduation practice if it's a drive-through? So that's why I don't really like the word drive-through, because we're doing everything, so, but we want to make sure that everybody knows, even the parents. I even requested at least a parent to be there for that practice, so they're aware and they're able to communicate with their family members on where they need to go, so, and then what rules and guidelines we got to follow from the state end of things. But back to our contingency dates. If things don't work out on Friday, we're going to be pushing it to Saturday at noon. And that's kind of right now we're on Friday, but looking at the weather, Saturday, it looks like that's probably going to be the date, but that's not anything confirmed at this point. If it doesn't work out on Saturday, and I understand that it's Memorial Day weekend, we're pushing it to Thursday and Friday of next week. That'd be May 28th and May 29th. Those are our other two contingency dates. So that is our plan. So I know the one question that people were asking is Val and Sal, are they going to be talking like they normally would at any typical or traditional graduation? Yes, they will be. We'll have a podium, a stage, out in front of our grandstands. And I know our tech coordinator, Mr. Sigler, has been working with the technology piece out there to where we end up purchasing a transmitter to where, just like if you went into a drive-in, movie theater, you turn it to a specific station. Our station would be 91.5. And you can, if it's a hot day out, during graduation, you can roll your windows up, you turn it to 91.5, and you can listen to the speeches and whoever is talking on their microphone. So we'll have all of our vowels and sows and our normal speakers on the stage. And how we're planning on doing the diploma, the introduction of diplomas, is that every vehicle will have them in rows. They will pull out per line, just like if we were inside. They would line up on the track, and then they would pull up. And I know we're going to have some music playing between each intro, introduction of diplomas, and they will walk up. And we'll have a table there to make sure that we stay in compliance with the Department of Health. We'll just lay that diploma on the table, and that's where you guys would step in. And they will get their diploma, turn around. We'll have our photographer there like we normally would, and we'll position everybody that we need to make sure they're in that picture with that graduate. But the downside is, in order for us to do this, is that myself, when we get socially in contact with that graduate, we have to wear a mask. So I will need to wear a mask except for when I'm speaking. So that's kind of the downfall, is that we're going to have a mask. But hey, you know what? When people ask, their kids ask this graduate, why are the people in the background wearing a mask? Well, they can talk about the memories through this pandemic. So they'll all come around and they'll stay on the track. And whenever we get through all the graduates, Mr. Wallace will be out there, will state that you are now graduates. And I know the police department and the fire department, they've reached out because they want to be a part of this special day as well, where it's going to be police escorted to where they're going to have a parade in conclusion of the graduation ceremony. So they'll have people lined up on 68, and they'll just kind of do a circle. And my understanding from looking at their game plan last evening is that they'll conclude the parade over at the township hall. So That is the plan as of right now. I know it has to be frustrating for those senior parents and also the seniors of everything that they have missed the past couple months. I know another topic of discussion was prom. And before, where prom, we didn't know what was going to happen. You know, our main focus was graduation, make sure these students can graduate. Now, since they're kind of opening things up, now we're looking at possible prom dates. Of course, it's to be something that we done in end of June, possibly July. But on our end, Verna, what we're allowed to do will determine if we can have a prom. In every school district in Ohio, especially in Brown County, they're in the same position. We cannot guarantee. We can put a date on, but we cannot guarantee. So that's kind of what's going on with graduation, and I'll make sure to fill you guys in if there are any changes.
I have a quick question, Tim.
Yes.
Are the cars going to be actually on the track or on the field?
They'll be actually on the field, and that's our.
So rain is definitely going to play a part in this. Okay.
Yeah. We're going to line them up just like if they were like the field was our stage.
Okay.
Our gymnasium, and line them up. However, you know, so that's why we're a little concerned about the weather right now. And then also we have a lot of technology and, you know, wires and everything that's going to be out there that plays a major role on, you know, how the graduation goes.
Now, if I have another question. So each graduate will have the opportunity to have one vehicle filled with family, etc.
Correct.
Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. And then it's going to be on 91.5. So are the parking lots going to be available? Like if other families want to have a vehicle there and have that tuned into that station?
Yes, but with a transmitter, and also it varies on the weather.
Okay.
91.5 can only, our transmitter can only reach out so far.
Okay.
It gets a bit staticky after the fenced in area. But we're planning on allowing people to park in the gravel area, but we're going to have certain areas marked off to where whenever we pull out, we don't have any, you know, traffic jams or anything like that. So everything will be lined out.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And then also with you kind of brought up another point too, Mrs. Isles. I know it was brought up that if they brought in a truck, if they wanted to sit in their beds or have people in the beds of their truck, would they be allowed to do so? I know a few weeks ago when that question was asked, they said no. But now they said we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say Eastern, I know they had several vehicles that had trucks with several.
So, but we had to make sure that we had the support of our police department as well.
Gotcha.
And I think that kind of helps along with the lines of the parade. So, you know, whenever they pull out the graduation ceremony, that they're not driving 35, 40 miles an hour with people in the back of their bed.
Right.
So the parade kind of alleviates that option. But yeah, that's a good question.
I have a question as well. I'm not clear on where the board members are going to be.
The board members at this time, we're looking at putting you guys on the track towards the closest to the podium, because here's the thing is that normally the board members will be sitting with one another. In this case, this time around, we're not able to do that. And just like in the past, you guys will need to decide on who will come up to the stage to present that diploma, or at least lay it on the table. And I know that, again, along with that, just as in the past, any district employee that has a child that is graduating, we give them that opportunity to present that diploma. Since it's probably going to be like daughter and father, you know, they're able to shake hands and be socially close to one another for that picture. But unfortunately with us, you know, we're not able to shake their hand. We got to continue that social distancing.
And what time should we arrive?
I would say the same as in the past. I would say if Start at 7. I would say 6:30 for you guys.
Okay.
Any
Thank you.
questions? Is there any other questions about graduation?
I have a question. When will you decide if it'll be Friday night or Saturday? When will that call be made?
Good question.
I believe it'll determine on the weather. We're, of course, we want to give as much time as possible. But I think it will determine if we're able to even have a graduation practice. I don't want to just go into the show without a practice. So our goal is tomorrow, maybe at some time in the afternoon, to really determine. I really cannot say, but sooner the better for us. That's our plan.
Yeah, it's awful wet for those cars to be out on that field, though.
Yeah, no, and that's my concern too, Paula.
Yes.
I'm a little concerned about that with the football and soccer, because if I don't want to sound like parents are objecting to the graduation there, but if they are upset, they can ruin that field.
What do you mean if they are upset?
Yes.
What do you mean by that, Kathleen?
Well, I think I know what you're saying, Kathleen. We'll have law enforcement here.
They're just not happy, I'll say. And, if their child is leaving, there have been some remarks made that people have said to me, that people that aren't even objecting to it, but are just passing along remarks that they've seen on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't get involved in that. But
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
They'll tear up the field, and then who's going to repair the field for soccer and football?
The person that tears it up, because
Yeah, that's vandalism.
Officers, yeah, that's vandalism.
That
if they
would
do
be
that on
nice.
purpose.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Kathleen. We'll have we'll have local law enforcement.
I just was wondering.
If it's disorderly, especially if they're acting disorderly, we'll let the law enforcement handle that, but I wouldn't really.
Someone said to me, why couldn't a stage have been set up over at the entrance to the middle school, a stage there, and people could be seated, that there's so much drive through the parking lot here that people could drive around if the police are involved and could get them situated. I said, I'm sure there's been a lot of thought put into this. So,
Right.
Even the governor guidelines said we can't have more than 10 people in a close proximity. They have to be in their vehicles. So, everything that we're doing is following the guidelines from the governor. Our hands are tied there. We can't go against that. It's not, for me, it's not worth my license. We have to do what's best for all. Then also, I know there's been discussion about why don't we wait till June? Well, here's the thing is, we have people that are going to the military,
right,
that are graduating. That's not fair to them. So we're trying to accommodate and modify for all students, not just one, but for all. And
I think it's going to be a great graduation. And I think the fact that the fire and the police folks want to do a parade and all of that, I think it's going to be an exceptional graduation. I think it should be received very positively that, I'm looking at it as an opportunity to do something different.
I agree. And also, isn't it, they sent out recommendations from the state to have these graduations as soon as possible. They didn't want you prolonging it, I thought.
Right.
I'm a positive thinker also. I'm only passing along what one person has said to me that's also a positive thinker and is behind you, Mr. Collier. She just passed along info.
Tim, I do have a question also. So that we can make sure that we're on the same page. How are you contacting seniors and the parents?
We have our one message.
Okay. And that's secure that all of the parents are receiving those?
And here's the thing too. We put it on our website. We put it on Facebook. Seems like everybody's mother and uncle's on Facebook. We put everything on like this document right here. And I know there was some questions. So sometimes people, because we do have a lot of messages that do go out. I've heard that before too, just recently. But I know before that we were sending out the video. I'm sorry, not the video, but the audio messages, and that was a concern. So that's why we transitioned into the text message.
That's great. I just want to make sure that people that direct a conversation with me saying, well, I've not been informed, I can adequately direct them and say, well, you need to look on the school page,
Right, yeah.
etc., so that I know kind of where they need to go to find that information.
And then also, Mrs.
same
Oswald,
thing
we have found is that where parents, whenever they get a new phone number, we if we don't know their phone number, there's a change in the phone number. It's really hard for us to make that change and modify.
Right.
So that's why we end up putting on. It's called our Thrill Share, is where we send our messages. We send it by text message. We send it on Facebook, and we send it on our live feed. It's found on our district website. So we're trying to reach out as much as we can to those senior parents, but also to the district.
Yes, and I'm glad that you're reiterating that, because I feel like, unfortunately, as many times as that's probably been said, there are still people that bark off that, oh, I've not been told, or I've not gotten that information. So I just want to make sure that that's out there and that's clear.
No, absolutely. That's my biggest thing, is the communication with the district, but also the community. Not everybody does a video, or not everybody sends out documents. So my goal is to try to get that out there as much as possible, so there's less questions asked. And if they do have questions, I don't mind answering those questions, or at least giving a reply. My big thing is that, hey, you know what? Ask me. Instead of just venting on different social media platforms, just ask us, because we're not hiding anything. There's no need for that.
Correct.
So we want everything. I want this to be the best graduation that we've ever had in 125 years, and memorable one, so if you don't have any other questions about graduation, if you do, even the individuals that are listening and watching this live stream, if you do have questions, feel free to give myself a call, 875-4500. I know Mr. Wallace is more than happy to talk to anybody, or Mrs. Greco. So if you have any questions, come and ask us. That's no problem at all.
Thank you.
If you guys don't have any questions about graduation, I'll move on to my next topic, is our U.S. Census. I know you guys have probably heard a lot about the U.S. Census. I know we had a back meeting yesterday with other businesses within the county in regards to the U.S. Census. Right now, we're at a 60% rating on people that is submitted through U.S. Census. Just to kind of push that out there, is that this comes every 10 years, and this affects our funding as a district, but also in the county, the state. So it's important for everybody to really participate, do this online, and get that out there. I know the representative from the U.S. Census that we speak with, his name is Sam Knight. I know with us, since we're trying to advertise and push that out there, we're getting bags that has information in those bags to give out. So what we're going to do is, for those families that receive our meals, that we deliver meals or the pickup, we're going to use those bags, utilize those bags, so they have that information. Because our goal is hey, you know what? We're a district, a small district. We know we have limited funding. We want to get that out there to make sure that we get as much as we possibly can as a district, but also in the community. It doesn't just affect us. It affects the fire department, the police department, the village. It affects everybody around us. So we really want to push that out there, because it's going to benefit all of us. I know along with that, I know Sam Knight from the U.S. Census, he's going to give us also like a banner, like an advertisement banner, to where we can have up at our graduation outside, just to kind of have a reminder, if you haven't done that. So, especially the younger generation, the U.S. Census, may not know much about it or its importance. It's really important for us for the next 10 years, and then they'll do another reevaluation in 2030. Wow. So you guys have any questions on the U.S. Census?
Yes,
I would like to add that it's very easy to do on the computer. I did.
Yeah, it takes about 5 minutes, doesn't it, Kathleen?
Please.
It only takes about 5 minutes to do it.
I don't even think it took me that long.
No, I mean, it's quick.
Yes, it is very quick. And have we ever put anything out on the front sign? Just
I know I didn't put anything out on the front sign, but I know I did put out a document about the U.S. Census. It was, I believe, it might have been a month ago.
Mhm.
The benefits, the advantages of that. I think we did that. I think it was the last board meetings when I posted that.
I
Yeah.
saw that.
it was immediately
You
after
know,
your last board
You
meeting.
did, Tim. Excuse me. I was wondering if you might contact the village and have them put that on the sign up there, because people that go through 68 and 50 might see it there.
I'll mention it to our board over at Lorelei and see if they can put a reminder on our sign as well. We have an electronic sign.
Yeah,
Your village and fire department are hearing from their local government sources. It's not really for Tim to, you know what I mean?
but I can look at putting it on our front sign if we haven't already. That's not a problem.
I'd also like to mention that, Mr. Collier, your letter, PTO posted it on the PTO website or the Facebook page last time. They pushed it, they supported it as we asked them to do. To answer a few questions that got asked after that post was, if you don't have your card or your number that they sent you, you can still go on there and fill it out and register. There's a way to find your ID. It's so super simple. And thank you to the PTO. But the one question that I still haven't heard the answer to, Mr. Collier, maybe is when is the last day to fill that out? Like, is there a deadline or a cutoff? Do they have a certain period to fill that information in?
I don't know off the top of my head. Lisa, do you know the date on that?
No, but I can Google.
All right. So as Lisa's Googling, I'll move on here. The next topic I have is if you guys don't remember the last time, our last board meeting, we talked about bus Wi-Fi. We end up getting that grant. It's called the GRIP project that we worked with the Educational Service Center, but also with Ohio Means Job. And there's nothing out of our pockets through the districts on this. This will utilize where we'll be able to find out what areas within our district that has a high need for wireless. And then we'll set it up. And then what I end up finding out too is that they called it the smart bus. We don't necessarily have to put it on a bus. If we were able to find like a barn of some sort, that we can use to set up that industrial router, that will work from my understanding. But I'm gonna let my IT, Mr. Sigler, kind of handle that, take the reins on that. But I thought that was a major plus for our district, especially those students that are having troubles, because we don't know, we won't know if what our position is going to be in the fall. If we're going to have to go there's a lot of talk about split days, going into brick and mortar and working online. We don't know. I'm not going to say if we're going to do one or the other. We'll see what the guidelines that come out, if anything. That's a major plus, is that we end up getting that grant.
That's great.
Next piece is the USDA Food and Nutrition Services. I know we spoke that we were looking at going through June 30th with our meal program, but we ended up getting the waiver. Well, it was a national waiver that extended through August. So this was a major plus for our families in district and our open enrolled students, because if we have to deliver, we're helping to deliver to those students as well and those families. we're serving about 100, 150 families each week. And so, I mean, I'm really excited about that. I know Mrs. Cindy Phillips and her staff and Mr. Gaucher's drivers that are helping with that. They've been fabulous. It's been a positive program, and it's helping everybody out in the community, but it's also helping the cafeteria as they are like kind of like an independent business, you know. So we just don't have funds just being expended throughout the summer. Now we have some monies coming in for that department. So it is a plus.
Good.
And I know someone already, I think Mrs. Green already stated with Mrs. Tussey getting the State Auditors Award.
Yay.
Took my thunder, you know, so just congratulations to Mrs. Tussey on that, because I know she works really hard to make sure that everything and all our ducks are in a row. But along with that, I know I speak with Mr. Frazier on the Brown County Educational Service Center superintendent. He only has less than a week left on his contract, and he's retiring. And I don't know how much he'll be retired, you know, because he's been in education for quite some time. And speaking with him, having conversations with him, is that we're in a situation right now where our unemployment percentage is really high, you know, and it's crazy how things are right now. So it's really important for us as a district, as a community, to make sure that any grant opportunities like we're doing right now, we're reaching out and taking advantage of those grant opportunities, because we won't know, you know, what our funding is going to be like next school year. And just like what Mrs. Tussey probably stated, that you know, they cut $127,000 out of our budget this year, you know. So it's important for us to take advantage of any grants, make sure that we do our parts. And if you know, if you guys hear of any other type of grants that might be available, please feel free to reach out. I know the ESC, they're working hard to help us out as well on any types of opportunities. So that's all I have for now, and I'll probably have some more later, but that is my superintendent's report.
Okay, next on the agenda is Southern Hills Career and Technical Center update. We had our graduation ceremony last Friday evening at the, well, it wasn't Friday, it was Thursday. We had a short board meeting, and then the graduation was at 7, and it was in front, you know, and they lined the vehicles up with the students, just kind of like we're going to do. And then that graduate was allowed to get out. Everybody else had to be parked to be able to watch that. So I think everything went on, and then they were able to drive through and honk at everybody and wave. So I think it went off pretty well, or everybody seemed to think it did. And then the next thing is Mr. Burrows, the principal at Southern Hills, has resigned due to his ongoing health concerns. And we appointed the person that had been working really hard. Angela Gray was the person that took over, and she was getting her principal certification, and she really proved herself during these months that we've had to be closed even. But before that, working to help Mr. Burrows to make sure that they were getting everything done that they needed to be done. So just that's about the only update I have from Southern Hills. So other than Mr. Burrows is pretty young and has a pretty large family. So he didn't feel it was fair to stay on, but he's continuing to battle this, the cancer condition that he's faced with. So we offer him our prayers.
Absolutely. And I know Mrs. Gray, Angela Gray, she'll do a fabulous job.
She is really good, and she gets along. She's got such an outgoing personality that the students really are drawn to her. Mm-hmm. And She's worked really hard and deserves this. This is actually the first woman principal at Southern Hills. So do we have any old business?
No, we do not.
Okay, then do we need a motion?
No, we do not. No motion on old business.
Okay. Then next we have number 6, executive session to consider employment, discipline, compensation of public employees, and to consider matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulation or state statutes. Do you have a motion?
Move, Catherine.
Paula, second.
Miss Green,
Yes.
Miss Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Isles.
Yes.
Okay, time in 10:46.
Wait 1 second, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to